Lesson number 1. A, B, K. This is what we call the lower case alphabet, and we shall hear all the sounds. In our alphabet, we have 26 characters. And these 26 characters are made up of 5 vowels and 21 consonants. Okay, so let's start with our first sound. Please practice as often as you can. A, A, A. B, B, B. K, K, K. D, D, D. E, E, E. F, F, F. G, G, G. H, H, H. I, I, I. J, J, J. K, K, K. L, L, L. M, M, M. N, N, N. O, O, O. P, P, P. Q, Q, Q. R, R, R. S, S, S. T, T, T. O, O, O. V, V, V. W, W, W. Ks, Ks, Ks. Y, Y, Y. Z, Z, Z. Bl, Cl. Lesson 2. And this is where we have initial blends of the consonants. Don't worry too much about the words, just hear the sounds. B, L equals bl. And an example of the word is black. B, L, bl. Black. K, L, cl. Example of the word clap. K, L, cl. Clap. F, L, fl. Example of the word fled. l, fl, fled, g, l, gl, glass, g, l, glass, p, l, pl, plate, p, l, pl, plate, s, l, sl, slate, s, l, sl, slate, b, r, br, brown, b, r, br, brown, k, r, cr, crop, k, r, cr, crop, d, r, dr, drop, d, r, dr, drop, f, r, fr, from, f, r, fr, from, g, r, gr, green, g, r, gr, green, p, r, pr, print, p, r, pr, print, t, r, tr, trip, t, r, tr, trip, s, k, sk, scan, s, k, sk, scan, s, k, sk, sky, s, k, sk, sky, s, m, sm, smog, s, m, sm, smog, s, n, sn, snap, s, n, sn, snap, s, p, sp, spot, s, p, sp, spot, s, t, st, stop, s, t, st, stop, s, w, sw, swap, s, w, sw, swap, t, w, tw, twin, t, w, tw, twin. And they are the initial blends at the start or the beginning of a word. Please practice them often. St, sk. Lesson 3. The final blends consonants. Forget the words, just concentrate on the sounds. And these sounds are at the end of a word. S, t, st, fast. S, t, st, fast. S, k, sk, ask. S, k, sk, ask. S, p, sp, wisp. S, p, sp, wisp. N, d, and, hand. N, d, and, hand. N, t, ant, punt. N, t, ant, punt. N, k, unk, sink. N, k, ink, sink. M, p, ump, ramp. M, p, ump, ramp. R, d, rud, hard. R, d, rud, hard. L, d, eld, hold. L, d, eld, hold. L, p, elp, help. L, p, elp, help. R, k, ruck, cork. R, k, ruck, cork. L, t, alt, belt. L, t, lelt, belt. L, f, elf, self. L, elf, self, t, pit, slept, t, pit, slept, t, eft, raft, t, fift, raft, t, cutter, actor, t, cutter, actor, b, bulb, bulb, b, bulb, bulb, ulk, milk, ilk, milk, elm, film, elm, film, ung, ping, ung, ping. As before, please practice these sounds at the end of words often. S, lesson 4. Final double consonants. F, puff, puff, l, ul, ball, ul, ball, s, kiss, sis, kiss, z, buzz, z, buzz, b, up, bib, b, bib, bib, d, d, add, d, add, g, g, egg, g, egg. Please practice these final consonant sounds. Cat, cat, Lesson 5. Simple 2 and 3 letter words. Am, 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 am. An, an, an. S, as, s, as. T, at, t, at. It, 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 it. Is, is, is. In, in, in. On, on, on. Up, 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 up. Cat, 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 cat. Bat, 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 bat. Big, 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 big. Pig, pig. Pig, pig. N, d, end. N, d, end. F, t, fat. F, t, fat. P, n, pen. P, n, pen. D, n, den. D, n, den. D, o, g, dog. D, o, g, dog. M, t, met. M, t, met. F, t, fit. F, t, fit. L, o, g, log. L, o, g, log. Please practice these simple 2 and 3 letter words. K, Lesson 6. New sound when combined. K, k, ik, clock, k, k, ka, clock, k, h, ch, church, k, h, ch, church, k, h, beach, k, h, beach, p, h, f, p, h, f, phone, elephant, graph, p, h, f, phone, elephant, graph, g, h, f, laugh, g, h, f, laugh, sh, h, sh, s, h, sh, ship, bash, t, h, f, t, h, th, 3, with, t, h, th, 3, with, w, h, w, w, h, w, white, w, h, w, white. Please practice these new combination sounds. R. Lesson 7. R controlled vowels. A, r, r. A, r, r. Art, part, far. A, r, r. E, r, e, r, error, fern, tiger. E, r, I, r, I, r, iron, bird, sir. Iron, bird, sir. I, r, o, r, o, o, r, o. Orange, port, actor. O, r, o, r, urban, absurd, blur, urban, absurd, blur, Practice these R controlled vowels. Sk. Lesson 8. 3-letter blends. S, k, h. Sk. School. S, k, h. Sk. School. S, k, r. Scr. Scrap. S, k, r. Scr. Scrap. S, h, r. Shre. S, h, r. Shre. Shrimp. S, h, r. Shre. Shrimp. S, p, h, f. Sphere. S, p, h. Sphere. Sphere. S, p, l. Spl. Splash. S, p, l. Spl. Splash. S, p, r. Spr. Sprint. S, p, r. Spr. Sprint. S, qu. Squat. S, k, squat. Squat. S, k, squat. Squat. S, t, r. Str. Strap. S, t, r. Stra. Strap. T, h, r. Thr. Thrash. T, h, r. Thr. Thrash. Please practice these 3-letter blends. A. Lesson 9. 7 diphthong sounds within words. The long A sound. A. Bay. A. 8. Not a short A sound, but a long A sound. A. Bay. A. 8. Long A sound. A, A, air, meat, pain, beret, long A sound, A, meat, pain, beret, the long I sound, not I, I, Y, I, pie, long I sound, Y, pie, the long O sound, not O, oi, boy, oi, foil, the long O sound, not O, but oi, boy, oi, foil, the long E sound, not E, peace, lease, meat, the long E sound, not but E, peace, lease, meat, the short O sound, cow, boat, dough, toe, hello, short O sound, cow, boat, dough, toe, hello. Please practice these 7 diphthong sounds. A. Lesson 10. Long vowel sounds in sentences. The long A sound. Can you make me a cake? I will pay on the way home. The long A sound. Can you make me a cake? I will pay on the way home. The long E sound. To be or not to be. I want to see it again. The long E sound. To be or not to be. I want to see it again. The long I sound. John and I are watching TV. Please can I have some pie? The long I sound. John and I are watching TV. Please can I have some pie? The long O sound. Shall we go to the show? I am so excited to row. Long O sound. Shall we go to the show? I am so excited to row. The long U sound. The man outside was rude. This is my cue to enter. The long U sound. The man outside was rude. This is my cue to enter. Please practice these long vowel sounds in sentences. E, lesson 11. Short vowel, normally long. E, normally sounds E, as in teacher, peach, cream. E, normally sounds E, as in teacher, peach, cream, but can sound E, as in bread, breakfast, death, breath, heaven, health, but can sound E, as in bread, breakfast, death, breath, heaven, health. Please practice these sounds. K, G, Th. Lesson 12. Special sounds. K, followed by I, Y, normally sounds like S. Scent, face, cycle. K, followed by I, Y, normally sounds like S. Scent, face, cycle. G, G, J, followed by I, J, normally sounds J. Age, fudge, gym. G, G, J, followed by I, J, normally sounds J. Age, fudge, gym. P, H, from Greek origin, normally sounds F. Phone, phonics, physics. P, H, from Greek origin, normally sounds F. Phone, phonics, physics. K, H, from Greek origin, normally sounds K. Christmas, chorus, Christian. K, H, from Greek origin, normally sounds K. Christmas, chorus, Christian. K, H, from French origin, normally sounds sh. chef, champagne, brochure. From French origin, normally sounds sh, chef, champagne, brochure. Please practice these special sounds. Lesson 13. Silent letters. First letter is silent. Wrap, wrist, right, rough, wrong, writer. First letter is silent. Wrap, wrist, right, writer, wrong, wrap. First letter is silent. Knee, new, knife, knives, knit, night. First letter is silent. Knee, new, knife, night, knit, knives. First letter is silent. Psalm, psyche, psycho, pseudo, psychology, psychosis. First letter is silent. Psalm, psyche, psycho, pseudo, psychology, psychosis. The last letter is silent. Autumn, column, hymn, condemn, solemn, damn. The last letter is silent. Autumn, column, hymn, condemn, solemn, damn. The last letter is silent. Bomb, lamb, dumb, comb, womb, tomb. The last letter is silent. Bomb, lamb, dumb, comb, womb, tomb. The middle B is silent. Bomber, plumber, dumber, combing, numbing, climbing. The middle B is silent. Bomber, plumber, dumber, combing, numbing, climbing. Please practice these silent letters. Lesson 14. High frequency used words. The top 16. A, and, he, I. A, and, he, I. In, is, it, my. In, is, it, my. Of, that, the, then. Of, that, the, then. To, was, went, with. To, was, went, with. Please practice and learn off by heart these 16 highly used words. About. Lesson 15. Highly used frequency words. These are the next 84 of your 100. About, after, all, am. About, after, all, am. An, are, as, at. An, are, as, at. Away, back, be, because. Away, back, be, because. Big, but, by, call. Big, but, by, call. Came, can, come, could. Came, can, come, could. Did, do, down, for. Did, do, down, for. From, get, go, got. From, get, go, got. Had, has, have. Her, had, has, have. Her. Here, him, his. Into, here, him, his. Into. Last, like, little, live. Last, like, little, live. Look, made, make, me. look, made, make, me, new, next, not, now, new, next, not, now, off, old, on, once, off, old, on, once, one, other, hour, out, one, other, hour, out, over, put, saw, said, over, put, saw, said, see, she, so, some, see, she, so, some, take, there, them, there, take, there, them, there, they, this, three, time, they, this, three, time, today, two, up, today, two, up, us, very, we, were, us, very, we, were, what, when, will, you, what, when, will, you. Please practice and learn these 84 high frequency words. Hello, so before we start our nouns, let's just have a little talk about English grammar section. This will help us read, speak and write correctly. We call this our parts of speech, and we will look at each of these parts separately. Firstly, there's nouns. These are part of a speech that comprise words that are used to name people, places, animals, objects and ideas. Almost every sentence will definitely have a noun, and they perform different roles in a sentence. Normally, nouns can act as the subject or the object in the sentence. Look at this example. This is a sentence which is a complete set of words that make up a complete thought, idea, or command. I eat this big pizza quickly and that brown sausage loudly in the kitchen. This seems simple enough, but actually it includes 14 separate parts of speech. And these are the 14 here. Let's not get too concerned at this point on the descriptions, but just notice how each word has a specific title. I is a pronoun. Eat is the verb. This and that are demonstratives. Big and brown are adjectives. Pizza, sausage and kitchen are nouns. Quickly and loudly are adverbs. And is a conjunction. In is a preposition. And the is the article. Notice also the sentence also starts with a capital letter and finishes with a full stop, or you may know it as a period. So the majority of sentences will include one or more nouns in them. If they are before the verb, then they are subject nouns. Or if they are after the verb, then they are object nouns. So let's break down nouns into their groups. There are a few more than these, but for our purpose, we will focus mainly upon nouns as being a person, a place, or a thing. That is easy to remember, and we can include animals and ideas here as things. Firstly, common nouns. They refer to a general or a non-specific person, place, or thing. You can see the examples here of single common nouns, and notice that they do not have a capital letter. I say this because proper nouns do start with a capital letter. A proper noun refers to a specific person, place, or thing, such as Cristiano Ronaldo, Beijing, Chanel, the Constitution. Okay, so the next class of noun is the singular noun, meaning that there's just one of them. There is one girl, one village, and one agreement. These nouns will have one, the, a, or an before them. A girl, a town, an argument, a snake. If there is more than one, then they become plural nouns. And plural nouns just refer to a number of people, a number of places, a number of animals or things. Nouns are made plural by adding an S or ES or IES or VES to the existing root word. Let's look at a couple of examples. Apple, apples. Dish, dishes. Berry, berries. Knife, knives. Nouns that end with an S remain the same. Some nouns remain the same in both the singular and plural forms, and some others have totally different spellings. And we will go into this in some of the material that's uploaded for you. So what are countable nouns? These are nouns that can be counted or measured, are called countable nouns. If you think of eggs, fingers, and smartphones, they can all be counted. 1, 2, 3, 5 biscuits, 2 countries. We can actually count them. We call them countable nouns. But conversely, uncountable nouns, they cannot be counted individually or properly separated and identified. For instance, you cannot say 1 bread, 3 soup, 5 butter. You can change it to a loaf of bread, a bowl of soup, and a pack of butter, plus the other examples here. Some food, because food, how do we count it? Too much homework. How is that individual? How can we count it? Some weather, a lot of fields. So generally, where does the sentence or the noun sit in the sentence? When the noun is used as a subject, it mostly appears at the beginning of a sentence before any verb. It can be identified by asking the question, who? Here, the elephant, the teacher, the city, and mum are all subject nouns, and they are doing the action, the verb. The eating is done by the elephant. The shouting is done by the teacher. The busyness of the city is the city. The hugging is done by the mum. So that is the subject noun before the verb. When nouns are used as objects, they appear in the latter part of a sentence after the verb. It can be identified by asking the question, what? This is where or what the action of the verb is directed to. So the buying is of the book. The looking is for the diary. The putting the food is on the table. The needing is work. So the subject directs the action towards the object. I is the subject. Bought is the verb, the doing. A book, the buying is aimed at the book. Okay, so short and sweet, and nouns are completed. There are a few more classes of nouns, but we will look at those further into your development. Quick recap. What is a noun? It is a person, a place, or a thing. It can be a common noun, non-specific or general, or it can be a proper noun, a specific person or place or thing. There can be one of them, a singular noun, or there can be more than one, plural nouns. You can count them. They're countable nouns, or you can't, uncountable. They can be a subject at the start of a sentence before the verb, or they can be the object of the verb, the action. So, see you next time. So, welcome back. Now let's consider pronouns and their place within our language. We will consider what a pronoun is and when and where do we use it. There are possibly 9 or 10 different types of pronouns, but we will consider the major 5 here in this lesson. Look at this very simple example. Robert is my brother. He is also my best friend. The word he, highlighted in red, is the pronoun here. Why use it here? We use it because if not, it would sound like this. Listen to this. Robert is my brother. Robert is also my best friend. It makes it longer, boring, and it's repetitive. So we change the noun Robert for a pronoun he. So pronouns are just like nouns, but in fact they replace them. So a subject pronoun, which is before the verb, which is the action word, the subject is taking the action. As you can see, we have I, you, he, she, and it for one person, or singular as we call it, and we have we, you, and they for more than one person, place, or thing, or plural as we call those. Look at this very simple example of an object pronoun which follows the verb, comes afterwards. Robert gave my book to them. The word them highlighted in red is the pronoun here. Why use it here? Because if not, it would sound like this. Robert gave my book to John, Mike, Billy, and George. It makes it longer, boring, and repetitive. So we change the nouns for a pronoun. And as we've said, pronouns are just like nouns, but in fact, they replace them. So object pronouns come after the verb, the action word. The object is receiving the action of the verb. As you can see, there are me, you, him, her, and it for one person, place, or thing, or singular as we call it, and us, you, and them for more than one person, place, or thing, or plural as we call it. So don't forget, subject nouns before the verb, object nouns receiving the action of the verb. So a couple of simple examples. Annie is my sister. She is also my classmate. The pronoun she replaces the noun Annie, so we don't have to say Annie twice. And a slightly harder one now. Visitors descend on the Great Wall of China. They swarm around it like bees. Okay, here the pronoun they replaces the noun visitors, and the pronoun it replaces the noun phrase, the Great Wall of China. Let's listen to the version with repetition and no pronoun. Visitors descend on the Great Wall of China. Visitors swarm around the Great Wall of China like bees. So you can see why they are used and where they fit in relation to the verb. Now let's look at the 5 main types. We have personal, possessive, relative, demonstrative, and emphatic. Don't worry about those fancy names. It's all really quite simple. We'll consider them now individually. And this is important because native speakers find this so much easier than students learning English as a second language. So, firstly, personal pronouns have been covered in the subject and object pronoun section already. Just a quick recap. A personal pronoun takes the place of people or things as a subject. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they, or as the object, me, you, him, her, it, us, you, and them. A tip here, first person is who is speaking, I and we. The second person is who is being addressed, you and you. And third person is someone not speaking or being addressed, he, she, it, and they. Okay. Then let's move on to possessive pronouns. Again, they replace a noun, but they also show ownership. Mine, yours, his, hers, ours, theirs are called possessive pronouns, and there are also possessive determiners such as my, your, his, her, its, our, their, which come before the noun and also show ownership. Third type of pronouns, relative pronouns, are those that heads an adjective clause. This means that they relate to a noun or a pronoun in the sentence. And a couple of examples may help. The cat that ate the pie is back. The use of that is a relative pronoun, and that ate the pie is now the adjective clause. That ate the pie. The man who won the contest is here. Who is the relative pronoun, and who won the contest is the adjective clause. A demonstrative pronoun is a pronoun that represents a noun and expresses its position as near or far, which also includes time periods. The demonstrative pronouns are this, that, these, those. In the example here, ball number 1 is this ball. The man is pointing down this ball. Ball number 2 is that ball. Ball number 3 for 3 and 1 is these balls. And number 4, which includes number 2, are those balls. So this and that are singular ones, and these and those are plurals, which are more than ones. Next pronoun, an emphatic pronoun. It refers back to another noun or a pronoun in the sentence in order to emphasize it, make people aware of it. For example, the athlete herself donated the prize money. Here, herself shows she will do it and nobody else will do it. I heard the noise myself. The emphasis is on myself, that it was I that heard the noise. Not everyone, just myself. So you can relate myself back to I, yourself back to you, himself back to he, herself back to her, itself back to it, ourselves back to we, yourselves back to you, and themselves back to they. So that's short and sweet, and pronouns are completed. There will be lots more examples and worksheets for you to pursue shortly. There are a few more types of pronouns, but we will look at these further into your development. So a quick recap. A pronoun replaces a noun in sentences and speech. It helps shorten the speech and it stops repetition. There are subject pronouns before the verb and there are object pronouns after the verb. We focused upon the 5 important types of pronouns: personal ones that take the place of people or things, possessive ones that show possession or ownership of the object, relative ones that introduce a clause to describe the noun, demonstrative ones that are used as if pointing to an object and how close or far it is from the speaker, and finally emphatic ones that are paired with another noun or pronoun to emphasize it. Okay, thanks guys, see you next time. So welcome back. Now let's consider adjectives and their place within our language. We will consider what an adjective is and when and where do we use it, and for what point do we have adjectives. A simple quick example will suffice here. If I say Amy is a girl, what can you imagine? What can you see? Not much. You are confused. But if I say Amy is a beautiful girl, you see something different. If I then go on to say Amy is a tall, beautiful girl, then you see something different again. And that is the point here. Describe what you see or say. This definition here speaks for itself. In simple terms, an adjective is a describing word. It describes the noun, which, as we know, is a person, place, or thing. Listen to this. The dog becomes the black dog. Different picture. The city becomes the crowded city. Different picture again. They change the meaning and they change your mental pictures. So, as a rule of thumb, simple descriptives will add the following qualities to a noun: the color, the size, big, small, the texture, rough, smooth, the shape, circular, round, the quality, thin, thick, opinion, good, bad, age, old, young, origin, Chinese, American. They help with reading. They help with mental imagery, they help with speaking, listening, and understanding. And there are 5 types of adjectives that we need to cover here. Simple descriptive, comparatives of 2 nouns, superlatives that express the top or bottom of a range, clauses and phrases that describe the adjective that is describing the noun, better and coordinates, where two adjectives sit together in describing the noun. So start off firstly with simple and descriptive adjectives. Just that, they're simple and they describe the noun in terms of quality. They include feelings and appearances, and as shown earlier in terms of colour, size, quality, shape, and age. Imagine no simple adjectives. The ball is thrown becomes the blue ball is thrown. Or the box over there becomes the square box over there. Adjectives and their descriptions help us to produce a mental picture in our mind of what we're reading and for others to understand what we're saying. Let's look at comparative adjectives. These are used to compare two people, two places, or two things. We add er in this case, and add the word than before the second person or the object. For instance, the apple is bigger than the plum. The profits this year are lesser than last year. Be careful of some irregular comparatives such as good, bad, far, and fun, because we never say gooder than. We say better than. We never say badder than. We say worse than. We never say farer than. We say further than. Or funner than. We say more fun. And irregular means they don't follow the general rule. Okay, lovely. Third type, superlative adjectives. They're used to express or describe an object which is at either end of a quality. They end in est. And an example would be, he is the saddest boy. Often used as an exaggeration because that isn't true. That's why we call them superlatives. We exaggerate. So they sit at the top of the range, the biggest, the best, or they're also at the bottom of the range, as indicated here by shortest, thinnest, smallest. Now, let us look at adjective clauses and phrases. An adjective clause is a dependent clause, meaning that it's not a complete sentence on its own, because it cannot stand on its own, or it cannot express a complete thought. Because of this, they allow you to combine two sentences with the use of the words who, whom, whose, that, which, when, where, and why. An example would be, the books that were borrowed from the class must be returned. Notice two sentences joined together by the use of the word that. Let's look at adjective phrases, on the other hand, which describe adjectives. So in our example, we drop the words that and were to emphasize the adjective that is describing the noun. Think of this example. He had an extremely large nose. Nose is the noun and large is the adjective, all emphasized by the word extremely. So extremely is emphasizing large. because there's large and there's extremely large. So the final adjective category for today are coordinates. In simple terms, it means that there are two adjectives describing the noun. In this case, big and spotty. Both describe the dog. Notice where the comma is after the first adjective, but not after the final adjective. This will become more apparent in our punctuation section, where we may have 3 adjectives or even 4. Okay, so we have completed adjectives, and this follows on from nouns and pronouns that adjectives are applied to. Good writers use adjectives, and native speakers never make the mistakes around irregular adjectives in their speech or writing. So just to recap, adjectives describe the noun. Okay, guys, see you in the next module. Okay, welcome back. So let's now consider verbs. In this module, you'll be able to identify the verb in any complete sentence or complete form. You will consider whether it's a physical, mental, or state of being verb. Generally, there are regular verbs and irregular ones that change their inflection, i.e. their ending, according to the subject of the statement and which time period that the verb is set in. Look at these verb examples. Remember that verbs are the action words, the doing words. The dog runs after the cat. Peter kissed the girl goodnight. I will write a letter to you. Note that the verbs are highlighted here. For your information, the dog example is in the present tense, which means it is happening now. Peter, who kissed the girl goodnight, is in the past tense. It's already happened. And I will write is written in the future tense. It's not yet happened. So, 3 types of time periods. And I just mentioned we write and speak our verbs according to which time period that they relate to. So the correct strategy is to consider if and when it happened, is happening, or will happen, and then change the verb accordingly. As a general rule in the English language, we have 12 tenses, of which 4 of them relate to the past tense, 4 of them relate to the present tense, and 4 of them relate to the future tense. But for initial learning purposes, we will focus just upon the simple past tense, the simple present tense, and the simple future tense. We're just going to focus on 3. So I said that a verb is a doing word or an action word, and that is larger than just physical actions. We have physical actions, we have mental action verbs, and we also have state of being verbs. And here we will consider physical actions, which are the ones that we can actually see the action or the behavior of the person. Look at these physical action verb examples, which are all in the present tense, which means they're happening now. I walk, you run, he laughs, she reads, it cries, we listen, you think, they hug, I fight, you play, she smells. The present tense describes a current activity or state of being, as well as an activity that happens regularly. For example, John practices the guitar every Sunday. Okay, let's move away from physical actions to mental action verbs. Here we're going to consider those which are the ones that we cannot actually see because no actual muscles or there's no actual movement. However, we are aware that they are active and happening and the results of those mental processes. Let me give you some examples of mental action verb examples. Again, in the present tense now. I remember. You imagine. He wonders. She recalls. It reflects. We ponder. You estimate. They prefer. These examples are again in the simple present tense. And the third type of verbs are the states of being. Who we are, where we are. It describes linking verbs that add more information to the subject. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is the action, they're not actions, but they're actually a linking verb between the subject I and more information relating to the subject. So we are aware that the subject is there, and so is the stated information. And the important verb here, really, for you to fully understand, is the verb to be. This is your state of being verb. Let me give you some example, because the verb to be tells us about the condition of someone or something. Look at these to be verb examples in the present tense. I am. You are. He is. She is. It is. We are. You are. They are. These examples are again in the present tense. So I am hungry. I am, the subject linked to the state of being verb. Hungry. That's a state and a condition that I'm in. She is big. Is the present tense verb. To be. Okay, so where do we put them? Generally after the subject of the sentence, the noun or the pronoun. So a little while ago I told you that a verb is the action of the subject. The subject is doing something. So common sense tells us that the verb should immediately follow the subject. This could be the noun, such as the black cat runs towards me. Black cat is the noun and runs is the verb. Or it could follow the pronoun, such as they are busy, where they are the pronoun subject and are is the verb. Okay, so time period. Did it happen? The girl ate the biscuit yesterday in class. Gone. Is it happening? The girl eats the biscuit in class. Now, present. Will it happen? The girl will eat the biscuit after class. It's not happened yet. It's the future. We can see that yesterday is gone and is the past. So the verb to eat has changed to ate because it's an irregular verb. The class is happening now and is the present tense. So the verb changes to eats because it links to she. And we'll go into that in some of our supporting documents. We add an S to he, she, or it verb in the present tense. And after class has not or is not happening. So it will be in the future. The verb adds will before the verb to estimate the future. And as I just said, our verbs split into regular and irregular verbs. Regular verbs are easy. They follow a predictable pattern when we switch time periods. So when we talk about the past tense, meaning something has already happened, we generally just add ed onto the end of the verb, or just d to the end of the verb if there's already an e there. So jump becomes jumped. Laugh becomes laughed. Dance becomes danced. Talk becomes talked. Use becomes used. Notice becomes noticed. So a rule of thumb is that if a verb cannot be changed into the past tense by adding just d or ed, then it is probably an irregular one. And let's now look at irregular verbs that don't follow a predictable pattern when switching time periods. So when we talk about the past tense already happened, we generally just add ed or d to the end of the regular verb. But irregular ones are slightly different, and in reality, we just have to learn them. Consider these examples. In the past tense, eat becomes ate, write becomes wrote, go becomes went, run becomes ran, see becomes saw, hide becomes hid, is becomes was. There are also some irregular verbs that do not change at all. Cut is the same in the simple present tense as it is in the simple past tense. As is hit and hit, hurt and hurt, set and set, spread and spread. They stay the same present tense and past tense. These need the listener to understand the context of the statement because the verb's not specific to the tense. Are becomes were. Okay. So, what do we mean by conjugating verbs? This is how a verb changes when it's linked to the subject and the time period. So, subjects. We have first person singular, second person singular, third person singular. We also have first person plural, second person plural, third person plural. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Let's look at two verbs, the verb to hit and the verb to jump in the present tense. I'm going to conjugate it in the present tense. I jump, you jump. He jumps, she jumps, it jumps. We jump, you jump, they jump. Okay, let's look at hit. I hit, you hit. He, she, or it hits. We hit, you hit, they hit. Now conjugate them to the past tense. Jump is a regular verb, we just add ed. Yes, I jumped, you jumped, he, she, or it jumped, we jumped, you jumped, plural, they jumped. Hit stays the same throughout. The context is this for the reader. I hit the ball hard every time. I hit the ball over the boundary. So you can see that the context hit the ball hard every time is a present tense, a regular occurrence. But I hit the ball over the boundary means it must be past tense with that context. We can understand which tense it is by looking at the words around. Listen to this example. I jump on Fridays. That tells us it's present tense. It happens every Friday. But then when it says I jumped on Friday, the ed signifies it's past tense and it's a regular verb. Okay, so that's just a short and sweet introduction, and there'll be more documents to support this. But verbs are completed. Let's just recap. Verbs are the actions or doing words in a sentence. They can be physical, meaning we can see the movement or the muscles. They can be mental, means we know they're going on, but we can't physically see it. And they can be states of being types, means I am here as a being. I am being human. They're constructed according to the time period that they relate to. They sit after the subject, and the subject can be a noun or a pronoun. There are regular and irregular verbs that change according to whether they have happened, are happening, or will happen in the future. Most regular ones can have just ed or d added for the past tense, and most irregular verbs have to be learnt. Okay, thank you. See you next time. Okay, so let's move on now to adverbs. So what is an adverb? Well, it's a word that describes how an action is carried out. Adverbs can change, or they can add detail to a verb, an adjective, or even a whole clause. They focus upon measures of degree or intensity, time, position, how often, and the manner in which it happened. Okay, so look at these adverb examples. John shouted loudly. How did he shout? The adverb loudly. I am very tall. So tall is the adjective. Very is exaggerating it, adding more information to the adjective. And the film ended too quickly. It's another adverb. How did the film end? Quickly. How did the film end? Too quickly. And thankfully, he had brought some money. So thankfully is the adverb that's relating to the whole sentence. Strictly speaking, there are 5 types of adverbs. Some of these names are nothing for you to worry about, but the examples will help. Temporal adverbs. These are adverbs that are related to time. For example, already, yesterday, and weekly. We have adverbs of degree. These adverbs measure the degree to which something happened. For example, fully, partially, and almost. Third type are spatial adverbs. These are adverbs that are related to the space and position of where something happens. For example, below, inside, over there. We have adverbs of manner. These are adverbs that give information about the manner with which something happened. For example, it happened quickly. They moved slowly. The boys ran excitedly. Okay, and then we have adverbs of frequency. They refer to how frequently an action occurs. For example, occasionally or daily. These are all the 5 types of adverbs. Okay, so let's look at adverbs and verbs. describing the way an action is happening. Okay, so adverbs often modify verbs. This means that they describe the way an action is happening. Susan sings nicely in the shower. How does she sing? Nicely. He works out daily. How often does he work out? Daily. That's the modifying of the verb. Now let's look at adverbs and adjectives where the purpose is to add a degree of intensity to the adjective. And remember, the adjective is the describing word of the noun. So adverbs can also modify adjectives and other adverbs. Often the purpose of the adverb is to add a degree of intensity to the adjective. For instance, this woman is quite pretty. How pretty is she? Quite pretty. This conversation is more interesting than the last one. How interesting is it? Well, it's more interesting than the last one. We're giving intensity to the adjective. Let's think about adverbs and other adverbs, which we call intensifiers. You can use an adverb to describe another adverb. The boy sings rather too loudly. How does he sing? Rather too loudly. The restaurant is almost fully booked. How is the restaurant? Almost fully booked. So, where do we put adverbs? Well, we put them as close as possible to the words that they are supposed to modify. They can be at the beginning. Fortunately, we caught the bus before it left. Hopefully, it will not snow on our walk. Silently, she snuck into the kitchen for a biscuit. The adverb's there for the whole sentence. Fortunately, hopefully, silently. Then we can have them in the middle of a statement. Mary accidentally knocked over her cup of tea. Knowing he was late, he nervously waited for his boss. Their parents often attend badminton classes. We can also position them also at the end of a statement. We had to think quickly. He looked up and down the list repeatedly. However, there are more than one way to form adverbs. So what are the three forms of adverbs? As we have discussed, most adverbs are formed by adding ly to an adjective, as we can see here. The second adverb form uses a different format. Some examples of adverbs that have the same form as adjectives and have similar meanings include words such as hard, wrong, and fast. In these examples, no additions are needed to create an adverb form. There are also adverb forms that are not derived from an adjective or, in fact, any other word. For example, as, even, how, and never. So, what are regular adverbs? Not all adverbs add ly to the adjective, like we've just said, because there's also adverbs that don't follow this pattern, but they still follow their own pattern, which means they are still regular adverbs. For words ending in y, we place the y and change it to ily. Rather than adding ly to the end, we can think of happy, happily, merry, merrily, lucky, luckily. For adjectives that end in IC, we add ALLY to the end rather than just LY. The only exception to this rule is public, which becomes publicly. So we do add LY there. But if we think of electric, electrically, basic, basically. And when adjectives end in LE or UE, we take off the E and replace it with LY. There are a few exceptions to this rule, such as unique, which keeps the E to become uniquely. But if we think of terrible, there's an E. Take it off, add LY, terribly. Think of true. Take off the E, add LY, truly. So just some simple rules and exceptions there for regular adverbs. But what about the small number of irregular adverbs? As I've just stated, most adverbs are formed by adding ly to the adjective. Quick becomes quickly. But this isn't the case for all of them. Some irregular adverbs don't fall into this pattern at all. If we think of good, we don't say the meeting went goodly. We say the meeting went well. We don't say the car drove fastly. The car drove fast. We don't say he hit him hardly. We hit him hard. Late doesn't change. Early doesn't change. Far doesn't change. Daily doesn't change. These are just a small number of irregular adverbs. So, short and sweet, adverbs are completed. Let's just have a quick recap. An adverb is a word that describes how an action was carried out. They can change or add details to a verb, to an adjective, to a whole clause, or to even another adverb. There are mainly 5 types that describe adverbs and are related to time, measures of degree, position, the manner in which it happened, and how often it happened. They position as close to the verb, adjective, or clause as is possible, but they can also be at the start, the middle, or end of a sentence. Adverbs are like verbs and can be regular or irregular. That's it for now, guys. See you next time. Okay, moving on now to conjunctions. We're going to understand them simply by discovering what they are, how they're used, and the 3 different types. It's quite straightforward, so let's make a quick start. Without conjunctions, you'd be forced to express every complete thought into a series of short sentences, such as, I like sport, I like playing sport, I don't like washing my sports kit afterwards. So how do they work? They just connect or link other words, phrases, or clauses together. So for this example, we could just say, I like playing sport, but don't like washing my kit afterwards. It's a much more fluent conversation. Look at this bad example. I like this ball. The ball is blue. It is also round. Can you pass the ball to me? Can you hear how choppy and disjointed that it is? It has no nice flow to it. It's not nice to listen to. However, look at it turned into a good example. It is very simple and interesting, but so much better than the original. I like this round blue ball and would like you to throw it to me. That's so much better. And you're asking which is the conjunction. It's the word in red. It's a very simple word, and. But can you see how it connects the 2 sentences together to make it into a nice flow. There are three different types of conjunctions: coordinating, correlative, and subordinating. Don't worry about the names. Coordinating are those that bring different elements into a relationship. Correlative are those having a mutual relationship. And subordinating are those that regard something of lesser importance than something else. But let's have a look. How do they do that? They just simply join together by using the acronym fanboys. So, fanboys, F is for A is for and, N is for nor, B is for but, O is for or, Y is for yet, S is for so. So remember the acronym fanboys: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Let's see and hear some examples. The film has finished, for I have watched it already. Shows a reason or purpose. I'm going to learn how to sing and dance. That connects two similar ideas. I'm not going to learn how to sing nor dance. It compares a negative contrasting idea. I can get up on stage, but I will not sing. Contrasting ideas or shows an exception. Would you like strawberry or chocolate ice cream? Highlights two choices. I have two phones, yet none of them work. Shows an exception or a contrast of an idea. I needed to practice the piano, so I hired a studio. Shows a reaction or consequence. That's examples of fanboys: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Okay, moving on to correlative conjunctions are pairs of conjunctions that work together. Some of these pairs are either or, neither nor, not only but also, such that, no sooner than, both, and. These are good examples, good pairs working together. They correlate two parts of a sentence of equal importance. Let's have a look at some examples. Both and. Using both and implies a correlation between two subjects that are performing the same action. An example of using these correlative conjunctions is this: we'll both be leading the class and using one microphone. So you can see the grouping of both and and. Another example, either or. Using either and or connects two positive statements, two positives of equal weight. For example, you could say, my brother is either playing football or basketball. There's either or, positive, equal. Then we can use the opposite, neither nor, which connects two negative statements of equal weight. For example, you could say, I will neither buy meat nor fish today. They're both negative, they're both related together. We then use whether or. This connects two possible actions of a subject. For example, you could say, I was not certain whether you would win or not. Whether and or. Not only, but also. A good example would be, I'm not only tired, but also sick. Rather than. This presents a subject's preference for one thing over another. For example, you could say, I would rather have love than money. And the final correlative example is such that, which connects two independent clauses in a way that implies a reason for an action. For example, you could say, such is the applause for my speech that I cannot leave the stage. Two independent clauses which are said on their own makes no sense. Bring them together with a correlative conjunction, it makes perfect sense. And the third choice is subordinating conjunctions which join independent and dependent clauses. What is an independent clause? An independent clause is a clause that can stand alone as a complete sentence because it does express a complete thought. What is a dependent clause? It's a clause that cannot stand alone as a complete sentence because it does not express a complete thought. So a subordinating conjunction can signal a cause and effect relationship or a contrast or some other kind of relationship between the clauses. Common subordinating conjunctions are because, since, as, although, though, while, and whereas. Sometimes the adverb before, after, or until can be used as a conjunction, such as I can study, which is an independent clause, can't stand on its own, or it can stand on its own, but it makes sense until 3 p.m. The dependent clause that doesn't make sense on its own. So let me just recap that again. I can study is an independent clause because it can stand on its own, it makes sense. Until 3 p.m. does not make any sense on its own. So we have to put it together. I can study until 3 p.m. But what's important here is the subordinating conjunction has to be part of the dependent clause. Okay, so after finishing his lunch, Peter played football. It's hot outside today, though it might get cold later. Unless it rains, we'll go for a picnic in the park tomorrow. John likes pop music while his sister likes classical music. Great examples. So short and sweet and conjunctions are completed. Just to recap, conjunctions are simple filler words that connect or link words, phrases, or clauses. They stop the speech being choppy and too simple, boring to listen to. There are three types, namely coordinating, correlative, and subordinating. They reflect different elements in a relationship, those that have a mutual benefit and those that regard something of lesser importance than something else. Okay, see you next time. Okay, so moving on now to articles. We're going to understand them simply by discovering what they are, how they're used, and some of the odd exceptions and omissions that we need to learn to be very accurate. It's quite straightforward, so let's make a start. Look at this example. I've shown you three simple examples. I am eating a pizza. I can see an elephant. Please give me the book. Look at the articles. These are the small words that are highlighted in red. They're all different and we shall discover why. So what are articles? Articles are words that define a noun as being a specific noun or an unspecific noun. We'll also need to remember where we position the article in our sentence. Simple terms, we place the article before the noun that we are referring to, or before the adjective that precedes the noun. Here we can see a pizza. Pizza is the noun and a is the article. A pizza. So why do we use a, an, or the? In simple terms, it is a question of choice. Is it a specific noun or is it a general noun? We call the example here the definite article. It limits the meaning to a particular noun. It is defined and specific, and the example refers to only one hammer as defined by the images here. So one would look to someone and say, "Can you give me the hammer, please?" They're pointing to only one hammer, a specific hammer that they want. So we use the article the. Here we call the example the indefinite article because it's not definite, it's not specific, it's general, and it can mean any of those hammers that you can see. It also takes two forms, and we apply a general rule as to whether to use a or an before the noun. The simple rule is that if the noun begins with a consonant, remember there's 21 of those, we use a. And they are what we consider to be the non-vowels. A hammer, a ball, a book, a trophy. Okay. This is also an example here of an indefinite article because it's not definite, it's not specific, it's general. And we could mean any of the eggs that are in the carton. But in this case, we use an instead of a. And why do we do that? Because eggs start with a vowel, not a consonant. Remember that there are 5 vowels here. There's A, E, I, O, U. So as a general rule, if the noun begins with one of the vowels, we use an instead of a. Okay, but as always in the English language, and this is what you have to get used to, there's generally 2 exceptions to the a and the an rule, and they are as follows. The first letter of the word honest, for example, is a consonant, H, but it's unpronounced. Honest, not honest. In spite of its spelling, the word honest begins with a vowel sound. Therefore, we use an and not a. And the second example, when the first letter of a word is a vowel, which is U in this case, but is pronounced with a consonant sound, use a. This sound is U and not O. Okay, so we've got I made an honest mistake. A unicorn seems magical. Just a couple of exceptions there. Sometimes an article modifies a noun that is also modified already by an adjective. In these examples, the adjectives amazing and small have already modified the nouns film and donation or offer. Okay, so the usual word order is article plus adjective plus noun. If the article is indefinite, choose a or an based on the word that immediately follows it. Okay, so notice that in the first example, if there was no adjective, then it would have been a film. But because there's an adjective, it's an amazing film. An for amazing instead of a for film. And in example number 2, if there was no adjective, it would have been an offer and not a small offer. A relates to the adjective and not to the noun. Quite straightforward. Uncountable nouns are nouns that are either difficult or impossible to count, that we've already covered in nouns. Uncountable nouns include intangible things such as questions and air, liquids such as milk, wine, and things that are too large or numerous to count, such as coal, sand, and wood. And because these things can't be counted, you should never use a or an with them. Remember, the indefinite article is only for singular nouns. And obviously, these groupings of milk, for instance, are more than one item. So uncountable nouns can be modified by words like some, too much, or a lot of. A couple of examples here. Look at the difference here. Some milk is not countable, whereas a bottle of milk is a countable unit. There's only one. So we use some milk. A bottle of milk, relating to whether countable or uncountable. Then we can look at articles with pronouns. Particularly possessive pronouns can help identify whether you're talking about specific or non-specific items. But if you use both a possessive pronoun and an article at the same time, readers will be confused. And think of this example. Why are you buying his book? It's just wrong because the and my are both trying to modify the noun. So we just use one. Possessive pronouns are words like his, my, our, its, her, and theirs. Articles should not be used with pronouns. So the examples here are, why are you buying the book? Why are you buying his book? Occasionally, articles are left out again altogether before certain nouns. In these cases, the article is implied, but not actually present. This implied article is sometimes called a zero article, and often the article is omitted before nouns that refer to abstract ideas. So, let's go out for lunch today. We do not say let's go out for the lunch today. I studied Chinese at college. We don't say I studied the Chinese at college. My brother is good at soccer. We don't say my brother is good at the soccer. It's just lunch, Chinese, and soccer. So that's short and sweet, and articles are completed. Quite straightforward. Articles a, an, and the modify a noun and go before it. They signify whether the noun is a specific definite one or a general indefinite one. General ones are a or an according to the first letter of a noun. Remember, there are a couple of exceptions to this rule according to spelling and pronunciation. If there is an adjective already in place, then the article applies these rules to the adjective and not to the noun. Consider if the noun is countable or uncountable, and if there is a possessive pronoun already in place. And finally, abstract ideas, languages, and sports also has the article removed. Okay, thank you. See you next time. Okay, so moving on to prepositions. These are another form of connectors or links in sentences that join nouns, pronouns, or phrases together with other words in the sentence. Consider the word pre means before. Position means where or when. Preposition. For this lesson, we'll concentrate on prepositions of time, place, and connections. In fact, there's 150 of them in total, but we will only focus upon the common ones and the common phrases. So look at the examples here of preposition of place. The book is by the window. Peter is in the classroom. The bird flew above the boy. The old man was outside the shop. They're all indicating a place or a location. Now we've got some preposition of time examples. In a week, I will graduate. We stayed in the hotel during the summer. In 2022, the economy fell. At bedtime, I finished my book. All the highlighted text in yellow shows you a specific preposition of time. Then we've got examples of preposition of connections. She lives with her 3 sons. Tom is the son of Mary. He helped me by writing the homework. Okay, let's look into them in just a little bit more detail. Simply put, a preposition is a word or a group of words used before a noun, a pronoun, or a noun phrase to show direction, time, place, location, spatial relationships, or to introduce an object. Prepositions of place, what does it mean? Simply, it just means where something is located in relation to something else. So, like we said, the bird flew above the boy. We're actually positioning the boy and the bird and linking it with a preposition of place. We've also got what is a preposition of time. It allows you to discuss a specific time period, such as a date on the 25th, one of the days of the week, next Saturday, or the actual time something takes place at 3 o'clock this afternoon. It gives us a time stamp. Third preposition is connection. A connection describes possession, a relationship, or accompaniment. Think of is used for possession. The book of Eli. To for relationships between people or things. And with for accompaniment. Okay, I went with her to the shops. So let's look at some of the most commonly used prepositions of place. In Beijing, at the beach, by the statue, near the house, close to me, next to the car, beside the pretty girl, between the tall men, behind the screen. These all give us definitive places where we look at the nouns and where they're positioned. Look at some of the most commonly used prepositions of time. Let's do some examples. At Christmas, in December, on Monday, for summer, during the winter, since the First World War, by Halloween until the 12th of January, before autumn, after spring, to midnight, past New Year. And then we'll look at some of the most commonly used prepositions of connection. Some examples. The Statue of Liberty is located in New York Harbor. A well-written essay is impressive to teachers. Lisa wanted to go to the concert with Victor. He is from the Smith family. So, unfortunately, there's no reliable formula for determining which preposition to use with a particular combination of words. The best way to learn which prepositions go with which words is to start learning the phrases most commonly used. And like the examples I said, in September, in 2022, in the 20th century, in the car, at 6 o'clock, at breakfast time, at 10 years old, at the cinema, on Friday, on the table, since 2025. My appointment is from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. I cannot leave until I have finished. My homework is due by the end of the day. Across from the library, I saw the car coming towards me. I think Peter is playing with John. We are cooking for 5 guests tonight. So short and sweet, prepositions are completed. Let's just have a quick recap. These words are prepositions that feature before the noun. They're divided between place and direction, times, and connections. There are 150, but we probably use 40 or 50 most of the time. Sometimes some can be used in different contexts. So it's a good strategy to learn them along with the nouns that they precede. Okay, thank you. See you next time. Okay, moving on now to demonstratives. These can be classed as demonstrative pronouns or demonstrative adjectives. The main difference between demonstrative adjectives and demonstrative pronouns is that the demonstrative adjectives modify a noun, whereas demonstrative pronouns actually replace a noun. Look at these demonstrative pronoun examples that replace the noun. This is my sister. These are not yours. Those are my favorite socks. That is a lovely smell. Okay, now let's look on the other side at demonstrative adjective examples that don't replace the noun, they just modify the noun. Listen to these examples. Can I borrow this book? Those babies are making a lot of noise. Please pass me that spoon. What shall I do with these records? Okay, so in simple terms, there are 4 demonstratives that relate to how many items or objects there are and whether they are close to the speaker or further away. Okay, so this is the first demonstrative. It indicates that there is just one item or object and it is close to the speaker. So we would say, this is my cup. This. Single and it's close to me. Now this is the second demonstrative. It indicates that there is more than one item or object also close to the speaker. So I would say these. There's more than one and they're close to me. Okay, the third demonstrative is that. It indicates that there is just one item or object and it's not close to me. So I'd say that. I'm pointing over there at one item. And the fourth demonstrative is those. It indicates that there's more than one item or object and that they are not close to the speaker. those over there. In this example, those people. Okay, so when using demonstratives, it's important to make certain that the listener or the reader is aware of which item or items that you are referring to. If you write 3 sentences talking about crying babies and then suddenly refer to these or those, then it must clearly be linked to them within the context. Let me give you an example just to understand what I mean. These babies have been crying for 2 hours. The mothers do not seem to care. The staff are getting annoyed with the noise. These are now becoming a problem. So the question is, does the word these refer to the babies who are crying? Does it refer to the mothers who don't seem to be taking any notice of them? Or does it relate to the staff who are getting annoyed? We have not made it clear the demonstrative these, what actually phrase it applies to. So be cautious. So short and sweet and demonstratives are completed. Let's give it a quick recap. Demonstratives can be adjective or pronoun based. If the adjective if the demonstrative is adjective based, then they just modify the noun. If they're pronoun based, then they replace the noun. This and these refer to objects close to the speaker. They're singular or plural. And that and those refer to objects that are not close to the speaker and again are singular or plural based. And the final point is that if you use demonstratives as a pronoun, then ensure that the reader understands which noun the demonstrative pronoun is actually referring to. Okay, thank you. See you next time. Okay, so what actually is a verb? Well, a verb is a word that describes what the subject of a sentence is actually doing. Verbs can indicate physical or mental actions, occurrences, and actual states of being. It is an action word or a doing word. So we're just trying to keep this simple for you. So generally, every sentence must have at least one verb. If we look at these verb examples, remember that verbs are the action or doing words. The boy hits the ball. They noticed the mistake. I am going to read my book. Note here that the verbs are highlighted in white. The boy example is in the present tense, which means it's happening now. They, the second example, are in the past tense, which means it's already happened. And the third example, I, is written in the future tense, meaning it has not yet happened. Okay, so verbs change according to the subject. I, we call the first person singular. You, we call the second person singular. He, she, or it is the third person singular. We is the first person plural. You is the second person plural, and they are the third person plural. And verbs also relate to the tense or what we call the time period. We can have the past, the present, and the future. And there are actually 12 versions of our tenses, and I cover that in another module elsewhere. Verbs are also used to indicate the tone or intention in a sentence. Listen to this. Jeff loves tennis. Dust the table. Did you do the shopping? You can hear a different type of tone of voice or an exaggeration or an intention. Most sentences can use the active or the passive voice. What do we mean by that? Well, most sentences can use either of these, and an active sentence is one in which the subject performs the action. For instance, Jeff ate an apple. Whereas a passive sentence is one in which the subject is acted upon. So passive sentences are constructed using a form of the auxiliary verb to be. For example, was, is, or were, followed by the past participle of the main verb. For example, eaten or taken. Passive sentences are useful for emphasizing the outcome of an action rather than the action itself by the subject. So earlier, the active voice, I said, Jeff ate an apple. Subject, verb, object. Now listen to this. An apple was eaten by Jeff. So the subject has gone to the end of the sentence. The object is driving the sentence, and we use the verb to be, was, and we use the past participle of to eat, eaten. So, short and sweet, what is a verb is now completed. Just a quick recap. Verbs are the actions or the doing words in a sentence. They can be physical, mental, and state of being types. They are constructed according to the time period that they relate to. They sit after the subject, which can be a noun or a pronoun. They can indicate the tone or an intention in a sentence and can be used in the active or passive voice. Okay, thank you. See you next time. Okay, just a short module now. So we're looking at regular verbs. So we divide verbs into two classifications. We have regular ones, which follow a standard rule when they're in the simple past tense and we use its past participle, which is formed by adding the suffix ed to the end of the verb, or just a d if the verb already ends in an e. Let's read these three examples a moment. Jeff finished his meal. They listened to the concert. The woman danced all night. Okay, so notice finish becomes finished with an ed added. Listen becomes listened with an ed added. But dance becomes dance by adding just a d, because dance already ends with an e. So you can see that in the simple past tense here, the verb has ed added or just a d added. It's as simple as that. Let me read these for you. Added, baked, behaved, boiled, challenged, listened, danced, switched, noticed, identified, walked, chased, shouted, climbed, and changed. In the simple past tense, the verb has ed added to it or just a d if it is already ending in an e. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we divide verbs into two classifications. We've already considered regular verbs. Now we're going to consider irregular verbs. And the irregular ones do not follow the standard suffix in the simple past tense. And what that means is we can't just add ed or d. We need to just practice what they are. We need to learn them and we have to remember them. So, irregular verbs form their simple past and past participles in some way other than by adding the suffix ed. Let's look at some examples. The snake ate the mouse. They slept all night. The athlete ran so fast. The verbs are clearly shown in white. Let me explain what I mean. Eat becomes ate. Sleep becomes slept, and run becomes ran. So a past participle is a word formed from a verb that can be used as an adjective or to form the verb tense. And we'll consider all these past participles and present participles later in the program. So you can see that in the simple past tense here, the verb has not ed or d added. These verbs just have to be learned and remembered. Let me just read them for you. Go, get, say, see, think, make, take, come, know, be, drink, fall, hide, speak, begin, choose. Okay, there's no ed added to these. Go becomes went. Get, got. Say, said. See, saw. Think, thought. Make, made. Take, took. Come, came. Know, knew. Be, was. Drink, drank. Fall, fell. Hide, hid. Speak, spoke. Begin, began. Choose, chose. So, just a quick summary. In the simple past tense, means it's already happened. These verbs do not follow a standard suffix being added to them. We just need to learn what they are and how we use them. So, next module, we're going to look at the verb to be. Remember, I told you verbs could be physical actions, mental actions, or just the state of being. Okay, so it's one of the most difficult verbs that we use is the one to be. Also, it's one of the most commonly used ones, so we need to really get a grip. And remember, verbs are action words. They can show movement or they can show activity. They can be unseen in the mind and they can just be a verb for being, meaning, existence. And that is what this verb is. Let us focus here upon just time periods. The first one is going to be the simple present tense. It's happening now, and the second one, the simple past tense, will be it happened in the past. But firstly, happening right now or when it happens regularly. So an example could be Jeff practices his yoga every Friday. Okay, so that means, okay, it's not now, but it's a regular now on a Friday, every Friday. We incorporate the verb with the subject, which, as you remember, is a noun or a pronoun like this. So, first person, I. If it's singular, I am. If it's plural, we are. Okay, when we think of the second person, if it's singular, we say you are. If it's plural, we also say you are. And when we talk about the third person, singular, it's he is, she is, it is. But if it's plural, more than one subject, they are. It's as simple as that. So with simple present tense, it's happening now or it happens regularly, and we're looking at singular one subject or plural more than one subject. Okay, let's move on to the other tense, the simple past tense. Firstly, it has happened or it existed before now. I mean, even when I started this class, this module, that's gone. That's the past tense now. So we need to speak about it differently. It happened in the past or it existed just before now. So an example from before, Jeff practiced his yoga last Friday. That means it's happened. It existed before. And remember, we had ed or just d to a regular verb. And to practice is a regular verb. So we incorporate the verb with the subject, the noun or the pronoun, like this. First person. I was. If there's more than one of us, we were. Okay, if it's one subject, second person, you were. Or if there's two of you over there, or three of you, or three nouns, you were. And when we talk about the third person singular, he was, she was, it was. And if there's more than one subject, they were. It's really quite as simple as that, although it gets used so often. So in summary, the verb to be is crucial because we all exist. We are all beings. We will also incorporate the verb to be in other contexts and tenses later on in the program. But at this stage, remember to consider, when did it happen? Did it happen to one person or object, or to more than one person or object? And did it relate to the first person, which is I or we? Or did it relate to the second person, you or you? Or did it relate to the third person, he, she, it, or they? Okay, see you in the next module. Okay, so the next module is the verb and its subjects, its relationship. So in sentences, we generally have a clear structure. In the majority of cases, it is subject, verb, and object. SVO. If it's an independent clause, it can stand on its own and it's a complete thought or idea by having a subject and a verb. But if it's a dependent clause, it's not a complete sentence. Doesn't make sense. It must be attached to an independent clause in some way to become complete. This is also known as a subordinate clause. And let's look now a little more at the individual parts. Firstly, the subject of a sentence is a person, an animal, a place, a thing, or a concept that does or takes an action. Determine the subject in a sentence by just asking the question, who or what. For instance, let me give you an example. I like chocolate. Now, who is doing the liking? I am. I am the subject of the sentence. Another example, they write many essays. Who is the subject of the sentence? Who's doing the writing? They are. So they are the subject of the sentence. And generally, in the active voice, it's usually at the start of the sentence, and it can be remembered by using a noun or a pronoun. So it's the bird, the plane, I, you, we. They're our choices. So we've now covered a lot of information about verbs, but as a quick reminder, a verb expresses what the person, the animal, the place, the thing, or the concept does. Mainly the subject. Okay, what is the subject doing? What action is that subject taking? So you determine the verb in a sentence by asking this question. What was the action or what happened, depending on the tense? I teach English. Okay, so what am I doing? Teaching. Teach is the verb. I taught classes yesterday. What happened? I taught them yesterday. On Thursday, for instance, I was teaching. So now I taught them yesterday. Teach is the verb. Taught is the verb. Okay, then the third part is the object. What is the object of the sentence? So the subject is doing or taking the action. The verb is the action being taken or done with. And the object is a person, animal, place, thing, or concept that receives the action. It's being done to them. So determine the object in a sentence by asking the question, the subject did what? Or to whom? For whom? Okay, so for instance, I threw the ball to Peter. I am the subject. Threw is the past tense of the verb to throw. The ball is a noun to Peter. Peter receives the ball from what I did. Or another example, he swims after the girl. He is the subject of the sentence. Swims is the verb. The girl is receiving the outcome of that action. Okay, so a quick short summary here. Remember the formula S plus V plus O. Subject, verb, object. Who is the subject? What do they do? And who received that action or outcome? Thank you.